Well, let's get started. So I will call the meeting to order at 7 minutes past 6. Thank you very much for your perseverance the last few minutes while we get a few things ready. We're going to go through roll call. It would be, if you can put your camera on just when you answer the roll call question, that would be really helpful. And if you can't, if for some reason you can't do the camera, that's fine. It's just helpful if we can verify. So I will hand it over to Ali to go through the roll call.
Okay. Abbott Loop.
Here. Lizzie Newell.
Thank you. Airport Heights.
Hi, this is Emily.
Thank you. Basher.
Yep, I'm here. Having
Perfect.
trouble getting the unmute off.
Bayshore Clat. Bayshore Clat. Okay. Bear Valley.
I'm here.
Thank you. Birchwood. Birchwood. Okay. Campbell Park.
I'm here.
Thank you, Kevin. Chugiak.
I'm here.
Perfect. Downtown will be absent tonight. Eagle River. Eagle River. Okay. Eagle River Valley.
I'm here.
Hi, Glenn. Fairview.
Ellie's here.
Hi, Kelly. Girdwood. Girdwood. Okay. Glen Alps. Okay. Government Hill.
Bob French is here.
Hi, Bob. Hillside.
Sandy Blomfield is here.
Thank you, Sandy. Huffman O'Malley.
Just a second.
Huffman O'Malley. Okay. Midtown. Midtown.
I'm here. Sorry, I had an interruption.
No worries.
Thank you.
Sorry.
You're
Mountain View.
Charlie Welch is here.
Thank you, Charlie. North Star.
Here, Jade.
Thank you, Jade. Northeast. Northeast. Okay. Old Seward Ocean View.
Yes, Gary is on.
Thank you, Gary. Rabbit Creek.
Rabbit Creek is here.
Thank you, Tim. Rogers Park.
Rogers Park is here.
Thank you, Marilyn. Russian Jack.
Kathleen Plunkett is here, and I can't bring my camera up. So anyway, but I'm here.
Okay. Sand Lake.
Liz Vasquez.
Thank you, Liz. Scenic Foothills.
Roger Shaw here.
Thank you, Roger. South Edition. South Edition. He was here earlier. He may come back.
John Thurber here.
Ah, there you are. South Fork. South Fork. Okay. Spenard.
Sarah's here.
Thank you, Sarah. Taku Campbell.
Sarah Alexander for Taku Campbell.
Thank you, Sarah. Turnigan.
Kathy Gleason, Jernigan here.
Thank you, Kathy. Turnigan Arm. Turning an arm. Okay. And UMed tutor.
I'm here. Stephen Callahan's here.
Thank you, Steve. Okay. That is everyone. And we have definitely achieved quorum this evening.
Thank you, Ali. Can we just ask, is there anyone here as a delegate who did not get called on or who perhaps missed the call? If you got
I
on
would
slightly
like-
late.
Pamela from Northeast did just join. If Pamela could confirm for me.
Okay, we'll come back. If you're able to confirm, Pamela, just do so later or say so in the chat. Okay.
Oh, I see
Thank
her.
you.
She said, I am here.
Okay. Yeah, I see. Thanks, everybody. So we have a quorum, which is good. So the only thing we have on the consent is approval of the agenda, which is go through the bylaw draft and deal with amendments. Would someone like to move to approve the agenda?
I'll move we approve the agenda. This is Daryl from Chugach.
Thank you,
Thank
Darrell. Do I
you.
hear a second?
Second, Rogers Park.
Thank you. I'll do this by consent. Does anybody object to the agenda? I'm not seeing or hearing any objections, so our agenda is confirmed. We will now move on to the main part of our business tonight, which is to discuss numerous amendments to the bylaw draft. I'm just going to say a little bit about process here. Just pull up my notes. So we have a motion before us from the last meeting, which is to approve the bylaws. And we started going through amendments last time. We dealt with 3. Plan for tonight is to get through at least all the pre-filed amendments. And then hopefully at the end of that, we'll have some time to deal with any floor amendments. And the hope is that we can get to the end of that process tonight, and then we're in a position to, at a future meeting, to have an up or down vote on the amended bylaws. Obviously, people can still introduce things later, but that's at least the plan. I'll just get through my my initial statements, Tim, and then I'll come back to you. So, for efficiency reasons, we took all the pre-filed amendments that arrived by a deadline yesterday, and sort of packaged them up into a packet. If you've opened the Google Doc, which is included in the bylaws page, that's a package of all the amendments. So in some cases, there were multiple amendments that did basically the same thing. In some cases, they were exactly the same language. So we merged them into a single amendment. There are other cases where there were 2 or 3 amendments which did the same thing but affected different pieces of the bylaws. So we merged those as well. And then there's also a set of there were several amendments which are basically text issues, so typos. We had an A instead of an an, things like that. They're at the very end of the list. They're considered scrivener's errors, so they basically don't need to be voted on. They're just sort of grammatical edits, grammatical fixes. And then we also found a bunch of amendments which we think are pretty uncontroversial and just generally improve things. So we put them all together into an omnibus, and we'll see that in a minute when we get up to it. There we go. So that's the set of things we've done before this meeting. So now we have this packet with effectively 6 amendments in, and they're packaged in various ways. We'll go through those shortly. And the way we're going to do it tonight is we'll go through those, we'll introduce them, move a seconder, discuss them. If anyone wants to make an amendment to that amendment, they can do so. We'll need specific language, and we'll make that adjustment on the screen. We'll vote on any amendments to the amendment. Then we get to the end of that process, we'll vote on the amendment itself. And then we'll go through and do all 6. And then at the end of that process, if there's still time, we'll go through and deal with any others that have arrived since or arrived that people want to make on the floor. So that's the general process. Tim, I'll ask you first, and then any other questions on that. It should become obvious as we go through.
Yeah, thanks.
Tim put his hand up first, Tim.
Oh, yeah, thanks, Mike. The only point I was going to bring up is last time we tried to move through some of these with consent, and then we ended up having to do a full roll call vote on each one. Is there a way that we could just use Zoom to launch
Yes.
a poll? Are we prepared to do that? And if you don't know how to do that, I can do it if you want to make me a meeting administrator, but that will get us through much quicker.
We do have that ready. Thank you. I forgot to mention that because I didn't put it in my notes. But yes, we have a poll ready. So for each of the, as we go through it, we'll sort of, it'll be Amendment D for Delta. And then if that gets split up or there are amendments, we'll find a way to label those. And we'll go through and we can do a poll in each case. If anyone cannot access the poll, then just put your hand up and we'll take a verbal vote. If you can't speak or your microphone's broken as well, then we can potentially use a chat as well. But the ideal thing would be to take the poll because that puts everything together. I would say at the end of the process, if there's anything really close, we'll go back and verify in the poll that only voting delegates did so. If anything is very, very close, but I think most of the time this is going to be relatively straightforward. So poll primarily, if you can't do that, put your hand up, speak verbally, or chat. Thank you. Thank you for that, Tim. Any other questions on process?
Yes, Liz Vasquez,
Hi, Liz.
Sand Lake Community Council. I submitted in the last meeting, March 18th, about 6-7 pages of comments.
Yes.
And those were submitted. I'm assuming they're included in the packet of comments.
So we asked them to be resubmitted with specific language, and we got yours today at just before 2 o'clock. So we weren't able to put those into the packet because we didn't have time to do that. But we can come. Many of them are already covered by the ones in the packet, and what we can do is bring those in at the end of the process when we get to the floor amendments. Okay.
Okay, because for the record, those were submitted March 18th.
Yes,
at our last
but as I
meeting.
said, several of them don't have specific language, so we'll have to when we get to them, we'll do that. But multiple of them are also covered by existing amendments, which we will discuss. So when we get to the end of discussing the pre-filed amendments, then if there are any others you want to bring forward, that'll be the opportunity to do so. Okay. So we're going to go back to, I'll just recap where we are. So I said we had an original motion from the last meeting. Looks like Jason moved it, seconded by Sarah. That was in front of us. We got through 3 delegates. We've relabeled them with letters. So A, B, and C. A and B both passed, C failed. So now what we have, you go to the next page. So now what we have here is, we'll start off with D, Delta. This is the omnibus amendment. So this includes, I think, 5 or 6 sub-amendments. And I think all of them have had generally positive comments through our previous discussions. So for efficiency, what we'd like to do is deal with these together. If anyone has a strong reason to pull one out and deal with it separately, so it'll have a separate vote, you'll have the opportunity to do that. But initially what I would do is entertain a motion if someone would move to move Amendment D, please. Sarah? Oh, you're on mute.
Apologies. I move Omnibus Amendment D.
Thank you. Do I hear a second?
Tim seconds.
Thank you. So we can go through this. We'll go through this slowly. And if anyone wants to ideally the community council that proposed it, but anybody else just wants to speak to explain what the purpose of these are. I will probably default to the community council who proposed it, or to Sarah, or worst case me. But we'll go through these quickly just to cover what we're discussing. So anyone from Bayshore Clat want to speak to that first part? If not,
I don't believe they're on this evening.
Okay. If not, Sarah, do you want to summarize this? And if you're not prepared to, I will.
The whole omnibus or just the first part?
Just the first part, just the first line.
Oh, okay.
The first bit of it.
Recording in progress.
I'm getting an echo, but I'm going to keep trying to talk. This just takes out the language and clarifies the language about quorum for delegates, for the coalition of delegates.
Yeah, so the impact of this will be when there's a delegate meeting, if you don't have quorum sometime, if a quorum chain disappears during the meeting, you won't be able to continue to act.
Correct. So where the original one said if someone leaves, you could still maintain quorum, Bayshore Clat is suggesting we eliminate that. And if someone leaves and it makes it so you don't have quorum, you no longer have quorum and can't take action.
Right. Okay. Let's go on to the next part. So again, anyone from, I think, Spenard, Bayshore Clat, or Campbell Park want to speak to this one?
I can, unless Campbell Park would like to.
You're up.
Okay. This one, again, just kind of clarifies and brings in line what's generally required for the removal of a director. So it's a majority to elect, but then 2/3 to remove. And just sort of condense the language so it can be done at any special or regular meeting. And we took out total delegates, so it's 2/3 of the delegates at a meeting. Yeah.
Okay. Move to the next one, third part, and then we'll go back and see if there are any questions. So let's move to the third part of this.
This was to clarify the language on, so it originally said any 2 or more offices may be held by the same person except the offices of chair and secretary and the offices of chair and coalition liaison. There was concern that, like, if you had a board of 7 to 11 and suddenly some could hold more than one office, you know, you could be making decisions with 3. You'd still require quorum, but this just eliminates that confusion. So our suggestion was just to strike that language altogether and remove that confusion.
Okay, let's move to the next one. Kathy, do you want to speak to this?
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, this reflects that the delegates should be the ones to be able to elect the coalition liaison rather than the board, and that it would be at a next regular special meeting. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. And let me get my let's see, rationale, because you guys don't have that, do you? Oh, sorry, I'm not very prepared. It's been a bad day.
That's fine. We can come back to it.
Anyway, if you have questions, you know.
Yeah, we can come back to it if there are questions.
Thank you.
Next one, Kelly, I think. Kelly on?
Yes,
Yep.
I am. Yep. Hi. Yeah. So, being the current treasurer, when I read this again, I thought, well, the treasurer is responsible for all funds and securities. And I thought, whoa, I'm not. So I wanted to put to review all funds and securities, because that's basically what I do. I'm not responsible for them, but I'm responsible to review them with Bo and Ari.
So you're the adult in the room.
And the adults in the room.
Okay. Let's go to the next one, Kevin. I think this is Campbell Park. Do you want to speak to this one, Kevin?
Let's see here. Was this mine here?
It says Campbell Park, so I think that's where it came from. And there is one little change we'll have to make to language. Anyone can speak to this.
Kevin,
yeah.
I can help with this.
Okay.
The intention of this was just to clarify which meetings the bylaws could be amended at. So it was pointed out that the language was a little unclear and just said regular meeting or any special meeting. And so the new version essentially says that 2/3 of directors at board of directors meetings would approve the bylaws, and then they would be ratified by the majority of delegates at any regular or special meeting of the delegates. So just because there was a lot of meeting in this section originally, it was just to provide clarity of who and what meeting.
And just because
yeah,
sorry,
that was good.
Thank you. And just because it's underlined in blue, there's that thing at the very end where I think there's a typo. I believe that should be saying bylaw changes shall not be. So that first B just gets deleted. Thank you. Right, that's the end of section. That's the end of Amendment D. So these were the things we put together that we thought would be fairly straightforward. They seem to have followed. There's been multiple conversations in most cases around this, in many cases, and some of them are very small changes. So I'll open it up to questions anybody has on any of these, on any of this section in Amendment D. I did see Daryl's hand up just a second or two ago.
Yeah,
you want to start, Daryl?
Yeah, you made the point I did. I was reading that, and that last sentence didn't make sense to me. So, but you've already clarified it, so we're good.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody have any questions on any of these or clarifications, or if Kathy, if you had your, if you want to repeat your rationale, if you found it.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I did find it. Well, it's kind of long. So the rationale is, so what happens if that person is not ratified? I'll see also page 10, section 8, coalition liaison. So when it appears that the liaison officer is elected by the board, is this the correct amendment?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. So the liaison elected by the board and not the delegates as a whole, it seems like it further separates delegates from having influence on how FCC is run, the purpose of which is to support community councils. It would be challenging for the liaison to communicate as a representative of the coalition of delegates if that person is not elected by the delegates, but by the board of directors. If there were such a liaison, that person should be elected by the delegates in order to represent their needs and not elected by the board.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions or issues or clarifications on these 6 sub-bits that make up Amendment D? I'm not seeing any questions or hands. Emily, go ahead.
Thanks. Just noticed another typo in that one from Turnigan at the end. Probably needs to be either at the or at their rather than
okay.
both.
Yep.
So thanks.
Fix that at the. Okay, thank you. I'm not seeing any more questions, so I'm gonna.
Excuse me.
Probably
are we allowed
Liz.
to make comments?
Yeah. That's what I've been
okay.
saying. Any questions or comments?
Okay. Well, you said questions.
Article.
Or comments.
Okay. So with regard to the election of the coalition liaison, that makes a lot of sense. They are representing the delegates. If we're going to have a coalition liaison person, then it should be the delegates to
That it?
get together and decide who will represent them. Otherwise, I think it really is isolating the delegates from the board of directors, and it further fortressizes the power of the board of directors. And the whole exercise of this should be that, the delegates have quite a bit of voice. They do represent the community councils. The treasurer amendment, that makes sense, to review all funds and securities. Not necessarily responsible for everything. And the amendment to the bylaws, the delegates definitely need to be empowered to make changes. It's not just the directors that get to change the bylaws.
Thank you.
So I can't see the other proposed changes.
There were 6 sub-bits here in this first item, this first amendment.
Yeah, the first one is, I think, difficult. I think it makes common sense once a quorum is established. We don't know. Sometimes people, delegates may have another commitment. They may need to leave a long meeting. I think it, as written, it provides common sense flexibility in my mind. So I would,
thank you.
I would not vote for that proposed amendment.
Okay, thank you. Sarah.
Yeah, mine's logistical now that I'm looking at it again about the delegates electing the coalition liaison. I'm thinking that makes more sense to elect at the time that you elect the board of directors. Mostly so if, for example, you've elected a board of directors, the board of directors decides various offices amongst themselves. If the delegates then elect someone who already has maybe like just enough of that job that they can take on and don't have capacity to be a coalition liaison, it's better to have that information up front. So does it make sense to amend this to say elected by the delegates at the same annual meeting? Oh, I just introduced an amendment, didn't I?
Yeah, so that's what I was going to say. So it's good that you're doing an example of this. So you are suggesting an amendment to an amendment. So this would be, can you suggest the exact language?
Yeah, so I move to amend the amended language to read at the highlight, elected by the delegates at the annual election meeting?
Okay.
Yes, at the annual coalition of delegates meeting.
Okay, so from a practical point of view, you do the election for the officers, and then you would have a second election of who wants to be the coalition liaison and choose that. Okay, that makes sense.
Yes.
So there is a motion to an amendment to the amendment. Can I get a second to this change?
This is Daryl. I'll second it.
Thank you, Daryl. Any discussion on this specific amendment to the amendment?
Yeah.
Kelly, was your question to this or to
Yes.
the amendment overall? To D. Okay, thank you.
No, actually to this as well. Thank you, Sarah. I actually just wanted to point out that in Article 6 under officers, the coalition, Section 8, the coalition liaison is also the chair of the meetings of the delegates. So I just wanted to point that out to make sure people understood that that was the case as well.
Okay, thank you. Kathy.
Thank you, Chair. I guess I don't know. I've been around a long time, and yet this confuses me. When does the delegates have an annual meeting? You know, we meet 10 times a year, and I've never really known a special month or something where it was called an annual meeting.
Right, so that's mentioned in these bylaws. So there is a meeting once a year, an annual meeting where the delegates basically elect the board. So that's what we're talking about here.
Is there a specific month that has been chosen, or is that arbitrary?
We had something in the original language. I don't recall if it's in the latest version. I think it was meant to be first quarter, but we will have to. We will.
Just give me 1 second.
Thank you. I was going to ask Gary just to confirm that. But
Sorry, I have
think
a lot on my screen.
Yeah, we initially had a suggested month, but we have an annual meeting when the elections occur. So the same as we have a month now where we do elections of officers, it would be similar.
It's the meeting that we elect the board in. Technically, the fancy name for it is the annual meeting, but it's for us right now. It's in May when you guys elect. That's technically like your annual meeting is the fancy name for it.
Okay, thank you. I think Marilyn was next.
Oh, thank you. Section 8, the coalition liaison, that section I have a lot of.
Is this about this specific change here in red?
Well,
or is it more general?
Well, it's more general.
Okay, can we go back to that? Can we go back to that then? Because we're now discussing the amendment to the amendment, which is really just this red language.
But can I just jump in? It's
yeah.
February is what we have in the bylaws, or the draft bylaws.
Okay.
But obviously, if we adopt them in the next couple of months, we'll have to have an annual meeting, at least an initial annual meeting, as soon as possible after that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
We will come back to you, Marilyn, when there are more general questions. But this is really just about the amendment to the amendment. I'm trying to keep us on track here. So, Roger. Then
I'm just hoping someone can clear up some confusion that I have on this. Might this wording that is suggested in the amendment to the amendment be such that should there become a vacancy of the coalition liaison, this language pushes off that replacement or that election till the next annual meeting of the coalition. I'm just concerned about that. So walk me through that, please.
Yeah, I think that's a valid concern. We will come back to that if so we're not going to do friendly amendments and things like that. If this is, we'll pose that question to Sarah, and if she agrees, she will withdraw this amendment and propose something else, or you can propose something, Roger. Is it Katie or Kat? Yeah, Katie Justice.
It's Glenn.
Oh, sorry, Glenn.
Actually,
it's spelled weirdly.
Well, it's my wife's Zoom.
Okay. Hi, Glenn.
My basic question is I must have an older version of this where the amendments are not grouped A, B, C, and I'm having a very difficult time tracking. At this point, I would like to turn it over to my alternative, Joy Webb. And hopefully she can track better than I can.
Yeah, because this is very confusing.
Okay. Can you, Ali, can you put another, can you put a link to the Google document in a direct link to the Google document in the chat, just so everybody has that as well?
Yes.
And what you should, because there's a Google document, what you should see is as we're making changes on the screen, you should see it reflected in your browser as well when you're looking at it. We're trying to make this as interactive as possible and as clear as possible. But thank you for letting us know there was a problem. Sarah, back to you.
I do take the notion that we could be liaison lists if that seat was vacant. So I would like to withdraw and resubmit.
Can I
How
just
that works?
Can I make a statement? Just really quick. Under coalition liaison in section 9, the removal of the coalition liaison must be ratified by the delegates at the next regular or special meeting of the delegates. A pro tem coalition liaison can be elected by the delegates from within the board at that same meeting. So I think we do in fact have a process in there for if the liaison was to be removed. And we have a process for if that person as the director was to be removed. So we would just do it at the next meeting, essentially.
That is a solid catch that I did not remember. So can I unwind my request to rescind?
Okay, so I think
what
we didn't quite accept it. So I think what we have now in front of us is we have this language here that just says it will be at the annual Coalition of Delegates meeting. We have a process where if something unusual happens, we have a way to deal with that. So this is just saying it typically we elect the board, and as soon as you elect the board in the same meeting, you elect who the coalition liaison person is going to be. That's my understanding. Okay, Daryl.
Yeah, I'd like to leave the language as it is in here for right now. And then in that other item that she mentioned, we could say removed or if they withdraw. And that would fix that.
Okay. Thank you. Tim.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. I just want to say that I think we can really get bogged down if we're trying to imagine every possible scenario we could run up against. I think with the omnibus amendments, I'll be voting against any. I've reviewed them all. They're all very reasonable, and I'll be voting against any amendments to the amendment. There's a provision in the new bylaws that allows the board of directors to amend the bylaws with ratification by the board of delegates. And I think I'm going to encourage us not to get bogged down on these easy ones and recognize that this is meant to be a living document. There will undoubtedly be things that need to be cleaned up as we put this into practice. And that can be done by the board of directors through the provisions in the bylaws. Thank you.
Thank you. Bob?
Yeah, my concern is, I guess, is there a clarification for what happens if a coalition liaison decides to quit? I heard something about where there was a provision to replace somebody if they are removed, but I didn't know what happens if they are quit.
Yeah, I think it sounds like we have a process for if they're removed, which is akin to if it's vacant. So I think we have something in the other language that's close enough that we could argue that's a guideline for how we should deal with that situation. But again, I understand that we have the risk of spending a lot of time talking about hypotheticals today. We really want to get through these, but at the same time, I think what we have in front of us is basically a clarification to say instead of it being at a later date, in a later meeting, it can be in the same meeting as the election of the board. I'm not seeing any more questions, so I think we can go to a vote on whether to accept this amendment to the amendment, i.e. accept the red language, yes or no. So if you can vote online on the poll that's in front of you. If you do not see a poll, put your hand up and then we'll come to you at the end. And if you're not a voting member, just close the window.
I did make these required, so if you're not a voting member, you can also just say not a voting delegate.
Okay. Okay. Where do we, I think the poll is the poll closed now?
I've got 23 people. So this is your last, and then I see Sandy with her hand raised.
I do not see a hand raised.
She has her physical hand raised on the screen.
I can't see you on the screen. Sorry, Sandy.
If you
Sandy,
guys can use the react to raise your hand, it is a lot easier because it brings you to the front of the queue.
Yeah, it brings it to the top. Sandy, were you going to vote? Okay, so I see a result here, 80 in favor, 12%, or 80% in favor, 12% no, 8% not voting delegates. That clearly passes. Okay, so we are back now to the amended Omnibus D. Any further questions or clarifications on Amendment D as just amended itself? Okay, take question, Kathy.
Yeah, sorry, Chair. Could you scroll? It would be up or down to the other ones that were included. It had something about ratification, but now it's been a little bit, so I'd have to see which one we're talking about here. Maybe you guys can help me out.
Ratification of what?
Well, I'm not sure. That's why I just, I can't see all this at once, so I'm not sure.
Right. It might be Article 5.
We removed the language to ratify in Article 5, in Article 6.
By making it an election.
5.
And there was another ratification in 5 as well, which we've also removed. So in both cases, instead of the delegates just being able to say yes or no, the delegates can actually, or the delegates vote directly, and that's the last thing.
Okay. Yeah, I could have sworn I heard it when you were reading it, Mike, but I'm not seeing it, so I'm not sure where it went.
Okay.
There is another ratified in Article 14 at the bottom there.
Oh yes, that's in the bylaws.
Okay. Yes. Thank you. That's what I was. Let me lower my hand here.
Okay.
So yeah. So if I may, Chair. So
yeah, please.
So it says these bylaws may be altered, amended, or repealed, and new bylaws may be adopted by the directors, and then the adopted must be ratified by a majority of the delegates. Can you clarify that when you just have the power to ratify as a body, you cannot make any amendments, you cannot change anything? It's either a yes or no vote at that
That's what
point?
ratification means, yes. Ratification is yes or no, so you have a veto as the Board of Delegates. You either support it or you veto it.
Well, that's a concern for me.
Okay.
Hopefully we won't have to go through bylaws all that much to alter, amend, or repeal. But when it comes up, once again, these bylaws, make or break. They're here to serve every council, not just the smaller board councils. And so I would move that the bylaws adopted by the board must be I don't
So
know.
are you moving to amend this
Yes, I
language in
am.
front of
Yes,
us
I
to amend the
am.
amendment? Okay, thank you.
And I apologize if I could use anybody's help and ideas. But I don't like the word ratify. I would say maybe replace ratify by voted on. And that way there's an option to amend.
If you want a second, I'll second that.
Thank you. So we have a move to amend the amendment, and we have some language here to replace ratified with voted on for the bylaws. And the effect of this would be that the board, the governance committee, which can include obviously delegates as well, it's not just the board, propose changes to the bylaws. Current language would be that there's an up or down vote with possible amendments coming from the board, and then there's just an up or down vote from the delegates. The suggested language here would be a vote including amendments from the board, and then a vote including amendments from the delegates, and then I think we would need to put something in place to go back to the board if there are changes, I guess. But we can cross that bridge when we come to it. So there is a suggested change here. Any discussion on this suggested change? I see. Ali, do you want to, is this a process question?
I'm recognizing Eagle River Community
Okay.
Council joining us, and I believe it is Cliff Cook.
Hi, Cliff. Welcome.
It is. Sorry about that. I'm out of state and I did not get the time right. My apologies.
Okay, thank you. Bob, go ahead.
Yeah, the question that I had is maybe Kathy would want to change it, but the bylaw changes shall not be introduced and voted in the same meeting. The last sentence in that seems like that might need some changes to allow for amendments to the proposed bylaws.
The approach we're taking now is if there are amendments proposed, it becomes a new draft, and then we then have to go through a notice period again. So I presume if we have I think we have a notice period for bylaws, so I think the same thing would apply. So if it gets amended, it would effectively you would have to have a vote at a later time. So we're going through amendments today, but we're not going to vote on it today. Emily.
Thanks. Yeah, so on this amendment to the amendment, I think my concern here is that if the board makes changes and then approves it, and then the delegates make new changes and then approve it, then it has to go back to the board to approve it, but they might make changes and then it comes back to the delegates. It just seems like it could be kind of a never-ending loop of approving and changes. I think the way that it was written before this proposed amendment would work, because if the board approves it and then the delegates decide not to ratify it, presumably they would provide some information about what they don't like and what they would want to see changed. That could then go back to the board. In the meantime, the current bylaws stand because nothing new has been approved. So, the board takes that feedback on board and then provides another draft, and they would be motivated to make sure that the delegates would agree with it so that it could then be approved. So I think I'll be voting no on this one because I think the way it's written would probably work a little bit more smoothly and would have the same effect. Thank you.
Thank you. Sarah?
Same thing that Emily just said. The end.
Thank you. Jade?
Yeah, I agree with Emily's point. When I think about models for how this is done, I think about like labor contract negotiations. The labor union would have a negotiating committee, negotiate the contract, hash it out, come back and forth. Like there's going to be a lot of back and forth in that process. And then at the end of it, then there's a ratification vote. And if they vote no, then that's saying, hey, go back to the drawing board. But I think it's important to remember that the bylaws are the bylaws, but there's a lot of other things that are not necessarily explicitly laid out in the bylaws, like the fact that there is going to be a lot of back and forth, and that the delegates are going to be voted by the directors, or the directors can be voted by the delegates. And it just feels to me like we don't necessarily need to yeah. I think it's good to remember that we are voting or electing the directors and giving them the job and the responsibility of doing all that work for us. And so I think a cleaner ratification process makes more sense, because we can assume that there's going to be a lot of back and forth. And if we don't like it, vote it down.
Okay, thank you. I'm not seeing any more questions, so let's move to a vote
No,
on
I
this
do.
language too. Sorry, Liz, I didn't see your hand
Yeah.
up, Liz. Are you able to
Sorry.
put your hand up? It's easier if I can see that.
Yeah. I have a problem with that at this
Okay.
moment.
Okay. Well, go ahead.
Apologize. No, I think changing the bylaws is I mean, it's not going to be done every month, every year, and they really, really are important. And so the delegates should be able to review, amend, and vote on them. And it's not going to happen every year. It's not going to happen every month. I mean, here we are 20 years later, amending bylaws. They do need to be amended. So it's not going to happen. It's going to happen every couple of years at most. So it makes sense for the delegates that represent the individual community councils to have not just a vote, but to be able to review and amend any proposed bylaw changes.
Okay, thank you. Last call for any comments on this change. Let's move on to a vote. So the vote is to change ratified to voted on.
Oh, I have a typo on there. I'm so sorry. I was doing this on the fly. It's voted on, not voted no. I'm so sorry, guys. Okay, this should be most people. Last call, please. If you are going to vote.
Oh, I see. I'm sorry.
And Sandy, do you need a voice vote again? No, you figured it out. Okay, just wanted to make sure. If you do need a vote, and you can raise your hand. Is that everyone? Okay, I'm going to end. If everyone's okay, I'm just going to check the results and make sure everybody who was supposed to vote voted and that we didn't have any duplicate votes because it's a very close call. Okay. I don't see any duplicate votes, so I have that we have 12 noes to 11 yeses and 2 people who are not delegates. So the amendment fails.
Okay, thank you. So again, we're back to the main amendment. So we can actually, for Ali, can you just put back ratified and take out voted on? So it's really clear. Okay, so while we're doing that typo, so again, we have Amendment D, which is the big one, in front of us. There's been one change accepted, one change to this rejected. Any further discussions on Amendment D overall? Liz, is that a question? I didn't hear.
No,
actually, I didn't hear anything. Okay,
well,
good.
I mean, there's been a vote.
Thank you.
So,
yeah, so let's move to a vote on Amendment D, please.
Okay, that should be everyone. Any last calls?
We should be playing the Jeopardy music or something when we do the votes.
Did anybody need a hand vote? Okay. And poll and share results. Amendment D with the amendment to the amendment passes.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. Thank you. We got through one. That's the big one. We will now move on to Amendment E. So I'll ask, I think, Sarah, do you want to speak to this one?
First, I move Amendment E.
Thank you. Do I get a second?
Bob French will move to second.
Thank you very much. So it's been moved and seconded. Sarah.
Yeah, this just adds some language about how the council will tell the FCC who the delegate is.
Okay.
So it adds the language, the delegate shall be submitted by written notice to corporation staff at least 2 business days in advance of any meeting. So it gives a timeline and method.
Thanks. Any discussion on Amendment E? Questions, clarifications, comments? General discussion? Okay. Let's move to a... Sorry,
like
someone... It was that you, Marilyn?
Marilyn from Rogers Park.
Okay, go ahead.
I thought this was already in the bylaws, and as I'm quickly trying to flip through draft 2 to find where that is, I'm not finding it quickly. But
yeah, I think this is in this was in a version, and it might even some similar language might be in our current bylaws. But so this is similar to our current policy, but just putting it into the bylaws.
Yeah.
Okay. Did that answer your question, Marilyn?
Well, I'm wondering where I would find it in draft 2 then, because
It would be an Article 3, Delegate Section 1.
Yeah. Okay.
That's the bit we're amending.
Yes.
Mike, I've got my hand up.
Yeah, Chris. While you're checking that, Marilyn, I'll go to Chris.
Tell me when you're ready.
I'm ready.
Right. Go ahead. I'm looking.
You ready, Mike?
Go ahead, Chris. Yeah, please.
I am against this. You know, the FCC is here to help us, and things happen. We are all extremely busy people. And if something happens and you are not able to give a 2-day notice, when you could call them and give them notice the day of a meeting, I just think we're making life harder than it needs to be. We need to make things simple and easy as much as possible. So I will be voting no on this.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any further comments, questions, clarifications, etc., or deliberation? Lizzie, go ahead.
Yeah, it sounds like maybe we should do an amendment on the amendment and just say it should be submitted by written notice to the corporation staff.
Right.
In advance of the meeting. So not specify 2 business days.
Okay. So do you want to say an hour before or 3 seconds before? I mean, from a practical point of view, if it's not an hour or 2 before, it's very, very difficult to handle. Okay. But I will actually, I'll ask that question of staff. Staff, what's kind of the minimum time you can really deal with something and accept it before a meeting starts when we have our regular meetings?
I mean, it depends on when the meeting is, right? We can't always guarantee that they're at 6 p.m. on any given day. Even like 24 hours notice would be great if that's possible, because then we can make sure that they have all the information that they need, that we can get contact information, all of that kind of stuff. I think what's hard is I've gotten notices of alternates or delegates who are changed at 5 o'clock for a 6 o'clock meeting. I then having to go through the verification process. So the minimum I would say for me, hopefully, would be 24 hours notice. just because I can't guarantee that the meetings are like 6 p.m. every day.
Okay, thank you. With that information, Lizzie, do you want to make a suggested change?
Yeah, that sounds like, from what you're saying, that does sound reasonable. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Jade, go ahead.
Hey, I guess to clarify the current language, the one on the left there, would that allow for, like, say what happened before the last meeting where I just sent Ari an email and was like, hey, I can't make the meeting or whatever. I guess, is there any reason if we're going towards, hey, maybe we don't want to specify 2 business days like Chris said, do we need to amend it at all? Can we just go with the current language, or is there something missing there that we feel like is necessary to put into the bylaws? And I think maybe this is also a situation where maybe there could be policy of the organization that we can get into the nitty-gritty details of things like this. But we don't necessarily need to have it into the bylaws. I think it's just for all of this stuff we can think about. Maybe some of this stuff could just be covered by like policy, procedures, best practices, that sort of thing. It doesn't have to necessarily be in bylaws.
Okay, thank you. Marilyn.
Yes, thank you, Marilyn from Rogers Park. I do not believe our president notified FCC that I was the newly elected FCC delegate. And so when I showed up the first time, I think that was news to everybody. So I would make a friendly amendment to delete 2 business days in advance, to say at least 1 week in advance of the meeting, because our community council is a little bit laissez-faire. And so that's my friendly amendment.
Okay, so we're not doing friendly amendments, but you can formally propose what you just proposed.
All right, then I would propose an amendment to the amendment to say that the delegate shall be submitted by written notice to corporation staff at least.
Right, so at least 1 week in advance of any meeting. Okay.
But it doesn't say at least 1 week.
Yeah, it will do. It will do shortly. That's
Okay.
what we wanted to say. Okay, do I hear a second? I do not see a second.
All right.
Okay, so that is not moved. Again, we have this amendment E in front of us. Tim.
I just think we should default to not keeping councils from being represented. I think we should, it's more important that they be represented, even if it's at the last minute. I appreciate the staff's challenges if it is at the last minute, but I think it's more like there's been a lot of discussion about the power of FCC and community councils. Well, that dilutes the power and takes away power from a council. So I'm going to vote against the amendment, and I'm going to be in support of the current language as it reads.
Okay, thank you. Jade?
Yeah, I was gonna propose a amendment to the amendment to change the second half of the language, the highlighted sentence, so it would read, the delegate or an alternate shall be submitted by written or verbal notice by the current delegate or a representative of the board.
Sorry, can I just step in there really quick?
Yes, please do.
The alternate is already covered.
Okay, somewhere else.
In a separate separate section. Just they have their own section.
So this is really more about permanent changes. In that case, I will withdraw the amendment, and I think it's fine to leave as is.
Okay, thank you. So again, we're back to this amendment E as it stands. Any further discussion?
Yes.
If not, we will move to Liz. Go ahead.
Yeah. we're all busy. It would be nice to know ahead of time who is going to be available or not available. But as we all know, we're all volunteers. Life happens. And what's important is to have the community council be represented at the meeting. So if you have to scurry at the last minute, so be it. I mean, in an ideal world, we would know a week before or 2 business days in advance. So I'm not for this amendment. Some type of, the FCC does need to be notified, but this really restricts. Do I know 2 business days before a meeting whether something comes up in my life or my alternate's life? No, this
Can I
is
just clarify, this is about when there's a permanent change to the delegate. So this would have to be after some action, presumably from the president or from the community council itself. This isn't just whether you can turn up to, whether you're available for a given meeting or whether it's you or the alternate. This is about the permanent change.
Well, that's not what it's stated here, so it can be interpreted as otherwise.
My understanding is that is what it's saying, given the context of where it occurs. But I mean, I may be wrong. Marilyn, you have, I think this is your third attempt at this, or third time to speak. So if you could make this brief.
Yes, it will be brief. I would like to make an amendment to say to delete at least 2 business days.
Okay.
Right. Have a second to talk about it?
Yeah. Is there a second for this?
I have a point of information.
Okay. Go ahead.
To remove 2 business days, I think that actually might just mean that you could just vote it down because it says already in the form of a written statement by the member council or bylaw. So I imagine that if you remove the timeline, then you would have to, that language is already covered. I don't know. That's my question to the chair.
I would say that, yes, I agree. I think the language in the first column, the current language, has the same effect.
Yeah.
If we're not putting a time scale in, we probably don't need to make a change. So I think that's, while somebody could second it, it probably doesn't have any impact. Marilyn.
Okay, then I would make my motion to be to delete this amendment because it's
right. So that's the same as voting no on the amendment itself.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I think unless there's any other comments, one last chance. I think we're ready for a vote on amendment to E, echo. Thank you.
Is that everyone?
We are getting faster.
And the amendment E has failed.
Okay, thank you. So we'll now move on to amendment F, Foxtrot. Okay. Right. So this, I will let Bayshore, Clatt, or Turnagain move this if they wish.
Bayshore, Clatt, if you want to go ahead, I'm fine with that. Otherwise, I'll speak to it.
They are not here this evening.
Okay. So Kathy, do you want to move this first? Move amendment F.
You muted, Kathy.
Bob French, I'll go ahead and move this amendment F.
Thank you. So amendment F is moved. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Thank you. So amendment F is now in front of us. I will let, I think Kathy's name is next to this. So let's start with Kathy. Kathy or Bob, do you want to speak to this? Either of you?
Yeah, I think this is pretty critical. How the pot of money that is allocated to FCC every year to operate as a nonprofit organization to support community councils should be allowed to be approved by a majority of the community council delegates at the meeting where it is being proposed and reviewed. this is the one thing that, I mean, it's the most critical thing that we currently, as all board of directors for FCC, vote on every year. And it shows where the priorities are with regard to how whatever amount of money we have to spend, that we should have a say in it, and not just the board of directors. I think it's typically how it's been done in the past is certainly the executive committee, the treasurer in particular, works with staff and the accountant and any other entity to come up with a draft budget, and then it's presented to the community council delegates for discussion, potential amendments, and a vote. And I don't think that should change. I really feel pretty strongly about this one. I think there needs to be a vote of the budget by all delegates. Thank you.
Thank you. Any comments or discussion on this item? Tim, go ahead.
I guess I'd like to hear from staff if, like, I don't know what the normal timeline is for approving a budget, but if we were to put forth a budget, or if they were to adopt a budget, like what would the lag be between the adopted budget and then a full Board of Delegates meeting approving it? And would that limit us where people didn't get paid or we couldn't pay our bills? Like what would the timing of that have to be to make that work?
Yeah, if Mike, if you're okay, I'll speak to
Yeah, please
that.
go ahead.
So right now our process is that our budgets have to be submitted to the clerk's office prior to October of the year before, right? So we're due for next year's 2027's budget in October of this year. But we've learned that if we want to ask for more money, which is not what I'm saying we're doing, but just like in an instance where we would want to ask for more money for the city, we actually need to get it in more like August, because that's when the clerk's office builds their budget. So while we can submit it later, generally we want to have it to them in August. And because we don't meet in July right now, generally we vote on the budget in June. We introduce it in May, and I have the finance committee and the executive committee look at it in April. So having the delegates have an opportunity to amend it and have to go back and forth, we probably would be needing to start that like immediately at the beginning of the year. In most years, if there's no edits and nothing expected, or we'd have to be holding special meetings in order to make sure that we were hitting our timeline, and also being aware that like we have to get it in and nobody's here in the summer. So I hope that answers your.
That's helpful. So what I would say is it sounds like this causes some challenges operationally, and I'll be voting no. I believe that the delegate liaison is the appropriate check and balance on this, as well as the recall process. So we should elect people that are responsible and can help follow through with that. And then there's provisions in place to recall them or to work that back. But to keep everything functioning and to keep our bills paid, I think it's important that we reject this amendment. Thank you.
Thank you. Emily.
Yeah, I'm with Tim on this one. I think this is another opportunity for kind of an endless feedback loop that would have really dire consequences if we don't have an approved budget. And yes, as delegates, we'll be electing the board of directors. So it's kind of like how we elect assembly members who then decide the budget and vote on it. The people who are representing us have the power to do that. And I think that's much more efficient than all 35 of us trying to figure out how much the FCC should be spending on, printing and copying, and even the executive director's salary, all of that. I'd much rather have the executive board just deal with. Thank you.
Thank you. Sarah.
Yeah, I also want to remind folks that in the current draft, Article 3, Section 3, Authority of Delegates, reads delegates may also serve on committees of the board. So if the budget is your passion and you want to help with the finance piece of it, you can serve on the finance committee, even as a delegate.
Thank you. Kathy.
Thank you, Chair. I guess I wasn't quite sure, Ari, you explained how the process is now and has been historically, and it gets the job done. The executive committee and whomever else wants to jump in and put a draft budget together does so in a timeline that then allows for that draft budget to then be presented to the delegates, the board of director delegates, at a regular delegate meeting. And then we discuss it. On occasion, pretty rare, we make an amendment and consider amendments to it, and then we pass it. And there's never been a hiccup in terms of, oh my God, that process allows for us to, really have a rush on things, or we've got to start the process clear in advance, a lot more advanced than if just the board of directors does that same process. I'm seeing a disconnect on how we have done it up to now and have managed to do it in a timely manner, thanks to executive board and the treasurer and staff working together to come up with a draft. And it's up to them to present it to the delegates, and they always have, in a timely manner, so that when it comes time to submit something to the assembly, the municipality, it's done. It's never been a problem time-wise on how it's been done, with all delegates having a vote and discussion about the budget. Thank you.
Thank you. Chris.
Oh, hi. Thank you. I agree with this amendment. We are a small group when you come down to it. There are 2 employees and a budget of about $200,000. If we can't come up with a budget in a timely manner with that small of a group, I think we're in trouble. And I really think that we need to stop and consider what we're really doing. We've got 2 employees and we've got $200,000. I could write your budget up in probably 20 minutes if I had everything in front of me. We have to submit what we want to our assembly leaders in August. And we're meeting those deadlines as CCs. So I would think the FCC should be able to do this too, and then get it to the delegates so the delegates can see what's going on and approve it or disapprove it.
Thank you.
Oh,
Jake?
and thank you.
Sorry.
Yeah, as I
Jade.
said with the other thing earlier, I think there's a lot of context and back and forth in process that isn't captured by the bylaws here, and that would be more of like a policy thing or like a procedure of how we are handling it thing. And so, by the time the budget comes up to, by the time the budget is moving through the process and we have people from the board of delegates or from the coalition of delegates on the committee working on it, I don't expect it to be a big thing. But to be perfectly frank, the politicization of the bylaw approval process, the language I've seen published on multiple websites that's very suspicious of all this, makes me really apprehensive about amendments like this. I love that this hasn't been an issue in the past, but I am concerned that in the future, the budget approval process for the FCC could be ground to a halt, and used as an opportunity to try to exercise some political grievances or whatever. And I don't really think that the budget approval process is the right avenue for that. And that if people have legitimate or illegitimate concerns about the way that the FCC is using its time, it feels like there's much better other avenues for that. And also realistically, the amount of actual actionable influence on the day-to-day of the organization that can be exerted through the budget process is also very small. And so it just feels like it's not really worth having that extra layer of uncertainty or potential issues. And, to Chris's point, it is a small organization, but the FCC, when it was started, was much larger, about 2 or 3 times as much as it was. And I would love to see it get to that point again, because I believe in the future community councils. And these bylaws are setting us up for the future. And I would love to have a bigger, more complex budget that could be a concern. So anyway, I'll be voting no on this amendment.
Thank you. Liz, I saw you did the clap symbol. Was that you raising your hand?
Yes, it was.
Okay. Go ahead.
I support this amendment. I think it's a good idea for the delegates to have a say in what's being written into the budget. Again, it seems like the whole process and these bylaws is to create this board of directors that control almost everything, and that I don't think serves the community councils well. I think the delegates should have a say. And, just because one person disagrees doesn't mean that they have enough votes to contradict what the majority wants to do with the budget. So, anyway.
Thank you. I'm going to move straight to Kevin.
Thank you, Chair. I guess maybe this comes from someone who's served as treasurer, I think 9 of the previous 18 years. And with all due respect, I have a little bit of concern that we're way more responsive in serving the clerk's office than we are the 35 or 36 community councils. And I think it should be the other way around. And so at the very least, I think if there's a budget to go forward, it should be submitted and at least go in front of the delegates and to be seen, and not necessarily just be told afterwards. I think we might have our order a little bit out. I think we have the wrong order there.
Can I just bring up Sarah's?
I was going to say, just to clarify, Kevin, that's what's in the current process. The current process, as proposed in the draft bylaws, is that there is a mandatory presentation to the delegates with enough time to pose questions and get feedback from the board. But then the final decision is made by the board, not by the delegates. So this would change it to the final decision is made by the delegates. So I think your concerns are valid, and that's in the current draft. But Sarah, if you have anything to add to that, please do. And if not, then we'll go straight to Kelly.
Sarah.
Kelly. Sarah, did you have anything you wanted to add? Or Ari, just to make sure I didn't misstate that?
Nope, you're good. That's it.
Okay, thank you. Kelly, go ahead.
Yeah, I was actually just going to say pretty much what you just said, Mike, in that it is already in the bylaws. And as the current treasurer, you can certainly contact me, or I'm sure Ari, Ali, Mike, any of us. And if you want to see the current numbers, I mean, I don't see why that can't happen. And if you have concerns about next year, then raise them now, or raise them as they come up, or raise them as you think of them. I agree that absolutely delegates should look at the budget, should know what's going on. There's no question. But I also agree that the final decision should be the board.
Okay, thank you. I'm not seeing any more questions or comments, so let's move to a vote on Amendment F. Oh, Kathy, sorry, you just, as I started speaking that, I saw your hand come up.
I apologize. I just wanted to make sure I'm reading the current language unamended. So the delegates have the authority to elect and remove, ratify bylaws, and to vote on any proposed. But so it doesn't, the current language gives absolutely no guidance with regard to an interactive process for delegates who are not board of directors to look at the budget, to review it, to get input on it, to have it explained to them. The current language does make that wall that there's no provision to have any kind of interaction with delegates, and to say, hey, I'm the treasurer, you can call me anytime, I'll open up the books for you. No, that's not how it should work. We're all volunteers. We meet monthly. At one of our monthly meetings, that is has been traditionally for decades the process of a draft budget being submitted and discussed and reviewed and explained by the board, for the current board, for the 30-some delegates representing all the community councils. And I don't know why this is so disconcerting for those who feel like the board should have that power and the delegates should just accept how the money is going to be spent every year without any kind of organizational input by the delegates. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I think Sarah has an answer to that because it is in the bylaws, but in a different section.
It is. It's Article 7, Section 7, and 3A, which is the Finance Committee shall ensure the integrity of the corporation's financial records, which it shall do by A, create the annual budget for approval by the board. The committee shall provide an opportunity for delegates to review the budget and give feedback on the budget prior to board approval. So that's that interactive process that we're talking about. So that is the back and forth before the board votes on it.
Well, but then it still
Okay, thank you.
does not include approval by the delegates.
That's correct. I think that's what we stated before and what Sarah just restated. So I think we've had this discussion. Multiple people have had multiple times opportunities to speak. Let's move to a vote. Amendment F.
If you have a voice vote and you want to raise your hand, I don't think we have any, but just in case. Okay, any last votes? Okay, ending the poll, sharing results. My numbers are slightly off, but it does fail by, this motion did fail by a considerable margin. So,
okay, thank you. Let's move on to Amendment G. So we have two more pre-filed amendments. This is a bigger one. Sorry, three more. The other ones are pretty small. So this is probably the last large one. I think this is all Kathy's. So Turnagain's. So Kathy, do you want to move Amendment G?
Certainly. Thank you, Chair. I move this amendment to include language in the middle of their elected term should a board officer or member no longer serve as a delegate of the community council or the community council replaces that delegate. That individual board officer / member should resign and a replacement board officer member be elected by the delegates to fill this vacancy. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And there's a second part to this as well, which we think is basically a part of the process that goes along with this. Is there a second?
This is Kevin from Campbell Park. I'll second the motion.
Thank you, Kevin. So we have a motion. It's been seconded. Is there anything more you wanted to add to this, Kathy?
Sure. I'll just read out the rationale that we submitted with this amendment.
Thank you.
FCC and the board need to answer to the delegates who are representatives of the community council that FCC serves. Board members should be current delegates chosen by their community councils as per their bylaws. Having someone who had been a delegate within the last 24 months does not make sense. Under this construct, a board member could still hold office even if they have been replaced as a delegate and were not supported by their community council to serve as a delegate for them. A sunset date of 2 months for replacement of an officer who is no longer a delegate might be a reasonable compromise so that we don't have a vacancy on the board for very long. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Jade. We're now moving into discussion, so anyone is welcome to speak.
Yeah,
Jade
thanks.
first, then Emily.
Yeah, I think as I'm thinking about like when this would come up, I'm thinking about, I guess short version is I think I'm going to be no on this. And I think the reason why is like if I, for example, am the delegate here in North Star and I find a house that I really love in South Edition and I move to South Edition and they already have a delegate, but I want to continue in my volunteer role doing the Lord's work, grinding away on the finances or whatever as a director for the FCC. I think it's in the best interest of everybody if you have somebody who's a volunteer who's really engaged, who's doing great work to continue to serve out their term as a board member, even if maybe they're no longer the delegate because they moved and there's somebody else who's already the delegate. And this kind of goes into the role as a board member and a working board member and the continuity, like on the small nonprofit boards that I've been a part of, losing one board member, as Emily Weiser can attest to, because we lost her and it was hard, is really hard. And it's hard to replace that effort and that talent when somebody is a volunteer working board member. And so I feel like the language that's already in our bylaws about removal of a member of the board is plenty to address a situation where someone is no longer the delegate for their community council, but is no longer, has the, shall we say, endorsement of that community council. Like, I feel like the removal of the delegates is plenty to address that issue. And this might create other issues where we're losing somebody who might be a good asset to the corporation. Thank you.
Thank you. Emily?
Thanks. Yeah, I was thinking along the same lines as Jade, where, it's difficult enough to find people in the first place. Also, continuity is really important. And this sort of amendment could result in people shuffling in and out more quickly than would be ideal for running the organization. The other issue that I see pretty strongly is an issue of timing. So I think Ari mentioned that elections for the FCC would be in February, but my community council holds our elections in September. And so there would inevitably be kind of a 6-month period where we would have a new delegate potentially, or yeah, it wouldn't match up. So logistically, I really don't think this could possibly work without a whole lot of turnover that I don't think would be good for anybody. Thank you.
Thank you. Sarah, go ahead.
Thanks. Yeah, I mean, I guess along similar lines, I mean, one of the reasons that we launched the bylaw effort was to help with stability. And so the idea is that you have a stable board. And if they're, to Jade's point, if they are not selected by their community council to be a delegate anymore, and it's for reasons, and those reasons bleed over into the FCC, there is that removal process. But if it's just because their bylaws have a certain way that a delegate is selected, maybe they term out as a delegate. We don't want to tell community councils what to do with their bylaws and who they should send as delegate. We just have that default in there. So this allows, or the way that it's written, allows for stability. And if we require them to step down if they're no longer the delegate instead of finishing out a term, we lose that stability. So I will also be voting no on this.
Thank you. Daryl, go ahead.
Yeah, I would just like to say that as written, this amendment has no meat to it because should is not a definitive term, and whether they should or they shouldn't isn't really relevant. It would need to say either must or shall, I think, if you wanted to have the right enforcement availability to you.
I'll accept that as a friendly amendment.
So we're not doing friendly amendments.
No friendly
so if there's
amendments.
we're not doing friendly amendments today. So if there is a formal request to make them an amendment to this amendment, go ahead. Okay, I'm not hearing anything, Daryl. So you're not moving that?
No,
okay.
I wasn't looking to make an amendment to it, but
Got
I
it.
just
Got it.
right now as it's written, it doesn't have anything to it.
Understood. Thank you very much. Tim, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks. The Rabbit Creek Community Council, the threshold for being a member in good standing is having attended one meeting in the previous 12 months. So it's a pretty low standard. And so I think this creates more problems than it solves. I think it imagines a very outlier scenario of somebody no longer being in good standing with the community council, and that there's provisions to deal with that. So I'll be a no vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions, comments? Not seeing any. I think we can move to a vote on Amendment G. Sorry, Kathy, I'll give you another opportunity.
I apologize. Thank you, Chair. I'm not quick on the draw here.
I will speak more slowly at the end of it.
Yes. I guess maybe the interpretation is wrong that there's potentially a disagreement on who a council delegate is or something. It could just be that they're termed out or they're not president anymore and the new president is a delegate. It doesn't have to be a nefarious kind of situation that I didn't know that was kind of intended on, but there's language in there that maybe could have been reworded. But this is interesting. I must say that it's interesting to hear that the delegates, some of the delegates who have chosen to weigh in on this, don't really care if the board members for the nonprofit FCC are delegates representing their community council. And that is that's a huge shift. Never been done before. Never in all these years. Now, I'm not saying I think some of the statements you made and rationale make some sense, but I think that we probably want to take a look at the bylaws to see if we really want to make that a definitive statement that the board of directors for the nonprofit FCC, there is no requirement that they be the community council delegate, that they be a community council delegate, because there's great people all over Anchorage that have no connection with community councils in any way, shape, or form that may be very good FCC board of directors material. And so if we're shifting in that direction, I just think we have to acknowledge it and perhaps open the door in our bylaws to actually invite that kind of scenario. It's never been done that way. But maybe this is the time, as we're redoing our bylaws, that we actually change that dynamic on who can serve as a board on this nonprofit organization. Thank you.
I'd just like to editorialize. I don't know if you've been paying attention in the last few months, Kathy. Sorry, that came across sarcastic. I didn't mean it that way. But I am not a delegate, and I am serving as the chair. Sarah is not a delegate. She is serving as vice chair. Currently, our bylaws allow exactly that for officers. Sarah, did you want to just jump in and address that issue before I go through the rest of the queue?
I am the alternate.
Okay.
Representing.
Thank you. Right. Thank you. Liz.
Oh, I support this amendment. You should be able to be a member of a community council, a delegate, before you get to serve on the board. Otherwise, it opens the door for anybody coming in, whoever.
Okay. Again,
very interesting. No, I support this amendment.
Yeah, I think you slightly misstated there. You have to have been a delegate, but it's about whether you're currently a delegate and whether you have to resign immediately when you cease to be a delegate. But do you have anything more to add, Liz?
No.
Okay, thank you. Marilyn?
Yes, hi. Thank you, Marilyn from Rogers Park. I'm voting no on this amendment because the president of the community council, it presumes they're not doing their job in relaying information to the FCC about changes in officers at the community council level. And also, why should the delegates to the FCC vote on the appointed delegate from the community council have to be elected by the delegates to fill the vacancy? That makes no sense, and it is micromanaging the community council, who is offering up a volunteer to sit on the FCC council. So I'm voting no on this one. This is micromanaging in so many ways. Thank you.
Thank you. Sarah?
Yeah, also just wanted to point out that when you get elected as a director, line 37 on the lines bylaws, Article 5, Section 2, directors may be elected from amongst the current or prior 24 months of delegates or alternates. And the idea behind that was that you had been a delegate either just now or in the very recent past, so you understood what this organization does. But the purpose of a board member is to oversee the health of the organization that is the FCC, and you do have to be a delegate when you start off, according to our draft bylaws.
Thank you. Again, I'm not seeing any more questions, so I think it's time to, we're at the point where we can vote on Amendment G. please go ahead and vote. Thank you.
Okay. Make sure you voted, everybody.
I missed a vote.
Okay. Oh, you want a hand vote?
Yes, I'll vote no. Thank you.
No. Okay. Great. If we have no other votes, then I'm going to end the poll, share results, and we're adding 1 to no. So it's 5 yeses to 19 noes. The amendment fails.
Okay, thank you. So we have 2 amendments left. We have 17 minutes normally. I think we can get through these 2. Amendment H, I will ask someone from Fairview to move this, if they wish. In fact, is anybody interested in moving this amendment?
Kelly, are you there?
Yep, sorry about that. I will move it. Yes.
Thank you. Can I get second? Darrell, are you seconding?
No, I just didn't see us go through the second one in Amendment G.
They were both together. That was Amendment G, was
together.
both parts,
Okay.
yes.
Never mind. Thank
So
you.
they failed. Thank you. Do we have a second for Amendment H?
I'll second.
Okay.
Okay. I'm not sure who got there first. I'll let staff decide. Okay. Darrell, I assume your hand is up from the last comment.
Yeah, I'll lower it.
Yeah, thank you. Kelly, do you want to speak to this?
Sure. I mean, I think it's self-explanatory. I just wanted to add that delegates can create ad hoc committees as well as the board members.
Thank you. Any discussion on this? Marilyn, go ahead.
Yeah, there's a typo there at the bottom. Committee that it deemed necessary is what I was thinking. Okay, never mind. Sorry.
Thank you. Any further discussion on this? Liz, did you have a comment?
Yes, I do. I think this is a very good idea. The delegates may have ideas about creating an ad hoc committee, and it's not just up to the board.
Thank you.
Still,
sorry, did somebody else, was that your hand verbally, Marilyn?
yeah, well, sorry, I forgot to mute my audio.
Okay, no
There's
problem.
still some verbiage that needs to be corrected there, so it's grammatically correct.
Okay, if it's a small just changing grammar without changing intent, we can do that by through the Scrivener's error process. So we don't necessarily need to go through that now.
Yeah.
Okay, I think there is the one thing I'd like to point out here is we have actually Sarah can do it. I think Sarah's going to say the same thing as I did. Sarah, go ahead.
We're going to talk about standing rules.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we drafted a set of example standing rules for the coalition where ad hoc committees by the delegates are addressed. So delegates can serve on either standing or ad hoc committees elsewhere in our bylaws, and then the delegates would draft. They can either use what we've already whipped up, or they can write their own. But that's where you can put that they can create their own ad hoc committees, just for transparency regarding redundancy.
Okay, thank you. Any further comments? I'm not seeing any, so let's move to a vote on Amendment H.
Okay, do we have any voice votes? Everybody make it work. Okay, I am going to end the poll unless there's any last. Okay, ending poll. 16 yays to 6 noes. The amendment passes.
Okay,
I didn't
thank you.
share my results. Sorry, so you can all see my math.
Thank you. Okay, let's move on to J. We skipped I because it looks like one. So we're now on Amendment J. Juliet.
And Bayshore is not here.
Okay. Sarah, would you, or Ari, would you, one of you two like to speak to this? Oh, sorry. Let's say Sarah, would you like to move this? Or would anyone else in the body like to move this amendment?
If somebody gets to it first, go ahead, but I need to refresh my memory real quick. Okay, I move Amendment J.
Thank you. Can I hear it? Do I get a second?
Second.
Thank you very much. So, Sarah, do you want to quickly speak to this?
I don't have much to speak to as I am not the one who crafted it.
Okay.
So I cannot speak to the intent.
Understood. Would anyone like to make any comments on this?
I can pull up his intent if you give me 1 second.
Okay, thank you.
And I can read that.
Emily.
If Emily wants to go first, yeah.
ahead,
Well,
Emily.
you might answer my question, so I should have waited, but just wondering if this is essentially the same thing that we voted on earlier about the delegates needing to approve the bylaws, or if this is something different.
Well, I will say he did not provide any additional information in his email.
Sarah, go ahead.
Upon further reading it in context, I agree with Emily, and I am inclined to withdraw my motion.
So to clarify, you're saying this is something which we have effectively already decided?
Yes.
And was the decision the same as voting yes on this or the same as voting no on this amendment?
We voted to not do this. So it would be...
I think we voted no.
Okay,
yeah.
right.
Correct.
So in that case, I will, with that further information, I would probably rule that this is not a proper amendment then, given our earlier action. I'm happy if anyone wants to challenge that ruling. Now is a good time. Kathy, is that what you wanted to do?
No, I did want to speak to this language, but not that.
Okay. So at the moment, we this is effectively being withdrawn, or we have ruled this to be an improper motion, an improper amendment, given that we've already made a decision on exactly this topic.
I do
So
have
again, if anyone wants to challenge it, they're welcome. Would challenge that decision, they're welcome to do so.
No.
I will not take it personally. Dizzy, were you putting your hand up, or was it just a?
I'd like to speak.
Okay, sorry, Kathy. Did you had a question? Now you're on mute.
Particular section that has nothing to do with the amendment or whether that's proper. So I noticed in number 5 that it says reviewing the ad hoc committees every 2 years and et cetera. And that could be our current bylaws. I have to admit, I'm not sure. Is that
I think what you're doing,
I just have a question, please.
Okay.
Ad hoc committees is like every 2 that they are lasted up to 2 years. Is that common? I always think of ad hoc committees as a shorter time frame. So thank you for indulging me, Chair.
Okay, thank you. I guess, Sarah, if you want to answer that, you can, but we're kind of moved to a different stage of the meeting now. But if you want to answer that question, you can, Sarah.
I don't have a response off the top of my head. I would want to look into what technically an ad hoc committee is.
Okay, thank you.
Sources.
I'm just going back to my notes now. So we're at the point now where we have finished all of the pre-filed amendments that we were able to deal with. So at this point, we have the opportunity to bring forward any floor amendments, which would be in addition to the ones we've already discussed. Tim.
Yeah, we extended this from the last meeting. We it was made clear to submit any amendments in writing in the interim to be considered today. So I'd like to call the question on the original motion.
Okay. I believe that needs a second. So does anyone second calling the
Ellie
question?
from Fairview seconds that.
Okay.
Give me
Let me
1 second.
just, before we do that, let me just clarify what we're actually doing. So my understanding is we've made amendments which are substantive. So that would normally restart the clock for how much notice we have to give. So although we've gone through the amendments, we can effectively adjourn the meeting and then act on this at our next meeting. We could discuss whether we're going to vote on it at our next meeting. I'm not sure we can call the question on accepting or rejecting the bylaws at this point because we've made amendments to the bylaws, substantive amendments. So do you want to, Tim, go ahead.
Point of order, could we move forward with a vote today if we suspended the rules under Robert's rules?
I think we could, or we could equally say that we would make the final vote at our April meeting, because technically I think if we follow the 30-day window, it goes to the end of April, so push it into May. There's been plenty of discussion about these, and I don't think there's any secret that we're making a bylaw change.
So I'd like to amend my motion that we suspend the rules so that we can take the final vote on these at our next meeting.
Okay. Do I hear a second to that?
I second that. Roger.
Thank you very much, Marilyn. So I don't have my Robert's rules to hand, even though I promised I would have. I don't remember if this is to suspend the rules. I don't remember if this is 50% or 2/3.
2/3.
2/3,
2/3 because you're breaking the rules.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Harry. So what we'll do then is, sorry, Tim?
Well, just to clarify then, if the vote for this is positive, then that would close the current motion to additional amendments, correct? And we would be voting. Yes. So effectively,
yes.
There would be no additional amendments considered, and any further amendments would then have to go, if it passes, would have to go through the bylaw revision process of the new bylaws, correct?
It would mean that it was in front of us at our April vote. It would close any further discussion in this meeting, move it to the April vote. I guess in theory, people could bring up amendments in April, but this would be a clear statement by 2/3 majority that the intent is to make an up or down vote in April.
Thank you.
That's how I interpret this. Okay, so we have a motion to end debate today and take our final vote at our April 15th meeting. It was seconded. Is there any particular discussion, any specific discussion on this item? I believe this is debatable, Ari. Can I just verify, Ari, it is debatable, correct?
Oh, I don't remember that. So yes, why not?
Okay, let's have it debatable. So I see Liz first and then Lizzie second.
Well, at the last meeting, specifically on March 18th, I submitted 6 pages of proposed amendments, some of them dealing with, and they haven't been discussed tonight at all. So you have had notice of what I would like to see proposed. In addition, there are things in these bylaws that actually violate Alaska statutes, like the notice provisions. Article 3, Section 4, special meetings for delegates. You only have 2 days of notice. Well, Alaska Statute 10.20.066 requires at least 10 days notice, no more than 50 days before the date of the meeting. That's just an example of one of the comments I had submitted previously. So I strenuously object to having this train leave the station without considering these amendments, which are not frivolous.
Thank you.
Point of order.
That was just an example. I mean, I have other amendments.
I didn't hear who the point of order came from.
It was Sarah Prescott.
Okay, Sarah, please go ahead.
A motion to suspend the rules is not debatable.
Okay, thank you.
Corrected me.
Thank you. I'm glad somebody has something to hand. So, okay, so in that case, we move to a vote. Is it clear? I think we can take any point of information. So is it clear what we are doing? If anyone is not clear what we're about to vote on, please say so, and we will go through this again. Lizzie.
Okay, what rules exactly are we suspending?
So I think we are suspending the requirement for a 30-day notice of changes to the bylaws. That's my understanding. Is that correct, Tim?
We are suspending whatever rule it takes to get us so that we can vote on this at our next regular meeting.
Right.
So
Yeah.
that is the
that makes sense, right?
Yes. So the rule to suspend the rules is to suspend either your bylaws or Robert's rules and do something that is out of order, essentially, and that's why it requires a 2/3 vote. It's a higher threshold.
Okay. Kathy, did you have a point of information or a point of order?
I'm not sure where this falls into appropriateness or not, but can we get a clarification? Did the board of directors or the staff or any officers receive Liz's amendments previous to this evening's discussion? Thank you.
Ari, over to you.
Yeah, so the original Sand Lake minute or amendments were posted as part of the previous packet. And just like I did with you, Kathy, as I reached back out and asked for the updated format because a number of those amendments were not actually amendments, but language that said that they just wanted portion of it to change. And so then when I got the deadline for the updated language was yesterday at noon. I got the Sand Lakes about 2:30 today, and there were still a couple of amendments that did not actually have like edited language. So there isn't like a motion that I could put before the body of exactly what the change would be. It was just a general change. So I wasn't able to then connect with Liz and spend the time to figure out like what the amendment would be.
Just because we're 1 minute to 8 and we did notice this meeting until 8 o'clock, I'd entertain a motion to extend this by like 15 minutes or whatever people want.
Second.
Well, can you make that motion, please, Jade?
Oh yeah, sorry. I'd make a motion to extend by 15 minutes.
This is Emily. I'll second.
Okay. Any disagreement with that? I'll do it by consent. Nobody's complaining, so we're 15 minutes longer. We'll go to 8:15. Thank you. I think I saw Liz's hand, or Liz clapping briefly. So Liz first, then Jade, then Marilyn.
Yeah, I submitted these amendments back in March 18th, and they're so obvious, like this 2-day notice of special meetings for delegates when the statute is very clear. There's no ambiguity about what the statute requires. All we simply need to do is repeat verbatim what the statute, and I have it here. You have to require at least 10 days notice, no more than 50 days before the date of the meeting. How clear is that? And I say it right in the reasons for the amendment. It's what the statute requires. So there's no, mystery. And comments,
Point of order.
I spend a lot of hours, and this is clearly set
I will
out.
take the point of order.
We are moving into debate, and
yes. Thank you.
We really need to vote on the question, and at this point, we just clarify what it is we're voting on.
I agree. So we're at the point where if anyone isn't sure what we're voting on, please raise your hand. We will describe that, then we'll go to the vote. This is not a debatable motion. Marilyn, do you have a question about what we're doing?
It's also on the screen.
And it's on the screen. Do you have a question about what we're now doing?
Oh, thank you. No, I have Liz's submission and
okay.
Add it.
Well, again, right. Again, this requires a 2/3 majority. So we will have this. Let's take this vote now. So yes, we'll suspend the rules in order to basically end debate on the amendments and move to a vote in April. And no will not. Does anyone have to make a voice vote?
Okay. I do have a voice vote from Pam.
Okay.
She is a oh, sorry, I can't tell. Never mind. Any other votes?
So that does not pass because it requires 2/3 and it's basically 50-50. Okay, so we will continue on now. Jay, did you have a point of information?
Yeah, could we clarify the statutes that Liz is referencing, as since we're a private corporation, nonprofit neighborhood association, what have you, those Alaska statutes don't apply to us because we're not a government entity. Is that correct?
I haven't looked at those. I don't know if I think staff may have done. Ari, can you speak to that?
Point of order first. What are we debating? I know that she's mentioned the motions,
Okay,
but we don't actually
right.
have a amendment.
You're correct. There isn't anything in front of us. So let's that might be a valid question in shortly. So now we're back. We still have the amendment. We still have a discussion in front of us. We can take floor amendments. They will have to be specific enough to act on. Does anyone have any floor amendments?
Yes.
Jade was first, then Liz, then Joy. Oh, Jade's put his hand down. So I think Liz first, then Joy.
Okay. Article 3, Section 4, the caption is, that section is titled Special Meetings for Delegates. And what it has is 2 days. The proposed bylaws require only 2 days notice for special meetings. Alaska statute 10.20.066, and this applies to our nonprofit. I know there's a whole set of statutes that apply to for-profit corporations, but this is also applies to nonprofits. So, which requires at least 10 days notice, no more than 50 days before the date of the meeting. So the amendment would be to delete 2 days and insert at least 10 days notice, no more than 50 days before the date of the meeting.
I'm sorry.
Delete 2 days.
I can't, I had to move to our actual document. Would you repeat the article and section for me, Liz?
Sure. Sure. Article 3, Section 4.
There's no Article 3, Section 4.
Let me see. Special meetings
point of order.
of delegates.
Yeah. Sorry, who brought the point of order?
Jade.
Okay.
Do we, I guess maybe it's a point of information. Do we need something like a motion on the floor to be discussing what we're discussing? And if so,
she's giving me the motion. I'm just trying to figure out where it is.
Cool.
Sorry,
Great.
Jade.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, where we are now is we're taking any floor amendments, but they have to be specific. So if there's a discussion about what specifically needs to be changed.
Okay, thank you. Sorry.
Thank you.
No, it's on page 3 of the draft. The paragraph next to the end of the page.
Here it is. Article 4, Section 4.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I cited Article 3.
So you would delete this 2 days?
2 days.
Is that what you said?
Yes.
So it would, okay.
Can I just ask sorry, Liz. What I recall from your from the thing you sent us originally was there were multiple things you wanted to change the notice for, or based on the same reading of statute. Would it be possible to, rather than do them all one at a time, because I think you had 17 in total, rather than go through all 17 amendments separately, is it possible to put them together? Just so we can try and do it in the next 9 minutes.
Not sure I can do that.
That was really the purpose of providing this information to us with specific language with enough time for us to make this, to package them as efficient steps. So it's very difficult. We're now having to do these one at a time without language ready.
Well, somebody should have checked the Alaska statutes, frankly. I was kind of surprised.
We did have this review.
Sorry. Can I I'm raising my hand.
Please, Ari. Can you speak to the legal process?
Because I'm share screening, I can't raise hands, so I apologize for being out of order on that. We did have a lawyer review these, this draft before it came before this body, and we are responsible to Alaska statute when it comes to nonprofit law. However, in Alaska statute, Yes, it does say a notice period, but it also says it says something to the extent of unless your bylaws say otherwise. So our lawyer did not find that any of our notice period was violating Alaska state law.
You may argue that, and I would have to review that statute, but 2 days notice, I don't know. Most of us are very busy to have to drop everything with 2 days notice. It is totally unreasonable. And I think it is required. I looked at the statute. I reviewed the statute very closely. So I would delete 2 days and insert instead at least 10 days notice, no more than 50 days before the date of the meeting.
We need a second, Mike, when you're ready.
Okay, now we have specific language. Do we get a second? And then I'll come to the other people in the queue.
Chair, I raised my hand to second it, please.
Okay, thank you. So seconded. Are any of the I see Joy has been there for a long while. Any of the people in the queue points of order or information? Otherwise, we will move to just to discussion on this item. Okay, so let's move to discussion on this item. Steve first, then Tim.
Yeah,
point of order, Mike.
Okay, point of order. We'll take that first.
Am I able to make a motion to adjourn at this point?
Again, I do not have my my guide in front of me.
Well, we have 15 minutes left.
We
This
have
is now
6
going to
minutes left,
extend
yep.
to another meeting.
Yeah, we
I'd
have
like to
6
make a
minutes left.
motion to adjourn so that these amendments can be submitted in the format that was requested at the last meeting, which was written language that we could act on, so that we don't waste time on language and parsing the words and getting legal opinions that everybody seems to be unsure about. So I move that we adjourn until next meeting, and those that have additional amendments, please submit them in writing so that we can act on them.
Okay, I'm going to ask Ari or Sarah, both of whom I think have the Robert's rules closer to hand than I do. Is a movement to adjourn? Can that interrupt a motion?
Yeah.
Okay, great, thank you. I will. You didn't sound like Sarah or
wait a second.
or Ari.
That was for me. For me, Steve Callahan.
Unless anyone says otherwise,
you can move to adjourn anytime.
Yeah, right. So, so in that case, we have a. Thank you. I thought it did. So in that case, we have a motion to adjourn in front of us. I assume it is debatable. So any quick discussions on that? If not, we will move to a vote.
Yeah, it's not debatable.
It's not debatable.
Not debatable. Perfect. Thank you. So, yes, can I have a second to move to adjourn?
Second.
Thank you. We will move straight to a vote.
Okie dokie. Any last ones? Okay, I'm going to end the poll and share results. We are adjourned.
Okay, thank you. So we will have this as an active item at our next meeting in April. Thank you, everybody, for getting through this. Great conversation.
Hi,
Bye.
please, if you have
Thank you.
amendments, please submit them in writing in the requested format that was emailed to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Very much.
Thank you.
Good night.
Have a good night.